Fat boys, it's the playoffs. This is our second week of the playoffs, but this is the one where everybody is involved in some way, shape, or form, not just a chosen few like last week. Came down to really the highs and lows, and this is fantasy sports. I believe last week I said how much I loved it. I say a couple times in this video how much I maybe love it slightly less considering how my matchup went. But really, there were a couple rockets this week. If you had a running back or wide receiver, our number ones were so far ahead of the number twos, even in those positions. So if you had one, congratulations. We definitely had some performances just die into fantasy osmosis as it does because they're on our free agent wire. So a lot of underperformances, some massive overperformances. Either way, we're going to get down to it. Second week in a row here since we are in the playoffs. I am not doing an NFL breakdown. I'm just focusing more on our league. I'll get to that kind of stuff next week with more of a monster kind of wrap up of the year for both our league and the league. But in the meantime, we're going to do a wrap up of the second round of playoffs and then a look ahead to our final week. So enjoy. It's not at all a surprise. Often in the consolation, what you tend to get is a lot of teams that came off rough, had some disappointing people or some underperforming people or people coming off injuries. But you also get managers that are weathered by the storm that is the regular season. And some, if there's not the carrot at the championship, check their rosters and go in, and some go all out. So I'm not saying, I think both these guys put in their time. They definitely started their best rosters, but not surprisingly, I think Horst put in, you can feel the extra mustard he was thinking about on this one. But realistically, what happens? Breece Hall was not just our number one running back. He was our number one running back by a lot. Way higher actually than our number two. We have a similar issue upcoming with our wide receiver. Hurts was also the fifth best scoring quarterback. Jefferson was in the top 10, but not in the top 5, but that's a good performance from him. So you add those together, you get a monster performance that I'm sure Horst is happy with. And then you get a 15-point defensive stand from Detroit against Minnesota, which also goes the other way as we see Madison not only got hurt, got in the negatives there. That's no bueno. 151, the only thing that Kevin's going to be a little pissed about, that was actually our top score of the week. So he could have been in any matchup, in any consolation championship, semi, whatever. He would be moving on. So he put himself in a good spot in this particular week. Unfortunately, he just didn't make it to the weeks that matter the most. Jazz put up a good fight. I mean, Gibbs was in the top 5 as well. He was the running back 3. Sanders was our best kicker. Miami had the best kicking output, 22 points, is a monster. But you get a negative, and then you get a series of underperformances. Waddle got hurt. Kupp underperformed, and Paka Nakua was more the story there. Now, in terms of bench play, you also didn't have a whole lot. Addison also got hurt, so that would have been a double whammy. So you didn't really have a lot of play here. Whereas Horst, I guess you could have been more creative and put in Gus the Bus instead of Ford. I don't think I would have, though. So Jazz, you got one more to play for. You'll be playing for our 7th ranking. Horst, there's only 2 people, and you're aware of this, that get to finish the year with a couple wins in a row in the playoffs. That's our champion and our consolation champion. You are in our consolation final. Let's see who you play. Either one of the last two, Chaz or Horst, would have played either one of these two, then both would be going to the final. This was a game of just bad luck. I do think you both put in the time to put in your best performances, but realistically, this was just going to be who could weather the storm the best. Everyone had some underperformances. On John's side, you have Pacheco and TJ, who both got hurt midway through the game. That's the kiss of death. You had Cook, who went off like a rocket last week, that just didn't do much, didn't get a whole lot in the end zone, but also didn't get as many carries or as much love as I think most people thought. I think people thought that they would be up big on the Chargers and then the run script would be high. That just didn't happen. Adams, AOC didn't complete a pass in the entire second, third, and fourth quarter of this particular game. Shocking that Las Vegas won, but Adams was obviously a huge disappointment for you. So how you did it, John? Ridley had one of his random, about 3 times a year apparently. He just doubles up on his predicted, and Dax did just fine, almost to the decimal point, hitting his predicted. And that was enough for you against this one, because Mark had even worse luck. Purdy just lost his MVP in front of the world in a publicized game, which is kind of funny. Pollard continues his underperformance, where he has some weeks up, some down. I'd say the same with Mixon. Some small kind of shining lights here with Pitts overproducing, and Bijan, even though he didn't get that many carries, Algiers is still getting more carries than him. Still produced, which was good for you. Unfortunately for you, San Francisco's defense, it's not like Baltimore dominated it. If you have some score people in the world that didn't watch the game but just look at that stat sheets, It looks like Baltimore did a lot more than they did, but remember how many times Purdy himself and the rest of the team turned the ball over. 5 total interceptions from Baltimore's defense. We'll get to that later. So San Fran just kept getting the ball in the worst spots, or San Fran's defense. So, I mean, that had more to play. In terms of your bench, you did leave some points on it. Tua was not the person you would have needed. You made the right call there. You had Eckler, but it wouldn't have helped you out that much. Also, you didn't quite need it. Okay, in that case, Monty might have been a help, and Gabe Dave would have won this one for you. He had the performance that you needed, and had you put like Monty in for Mixon, you also would have taken this one. So, Mark, unfortunately, you've gone from playing in the games that matter for the last couple of years to now you're playing in the seventh place allocation game. Whereas Waylon, not the final you wanted to be in, but it is a consolation final. You've been in this position before, both in the real final and the makeshift one. I wish you best of luck next week against Kevin. There's the consolation, there's the championship, and then there's this in between. You are on the championship side, but this is your last matchup. This was our 5th place allocation matchup, and our 5th place in the regular season looks like they're going to hold on to the title and bump Ben all the way down to 3rd. So we've flipped spots from the regular season bit. And actually kind of a decent matchup, but I think Ben yours was riddled by, Mozart's early exit, but then Etienne not getting the love and not getting what you'd assume one of the two go off in a game like this against Dallas. They just didn't, which kind of bit you. Mahomes' underperformance and just been, a kicker for you. I know you take him early, and if you look, and we'll get to this near the recap that I'm going to do at the end of the year, but with Wilson and Mahomes rounding out, I believe, your 2nd and 3rd round picks, it just didn't work out for you. But Mahomes really just doesn't have as much to work with. I don't blame him. The CMC Music Factory, though, was singing strong, and actually what sucks for you is I really think he's going to go off big next week against Washington, but you don't get to get the dividends on that one. B, you won by a couple touchdowns here, and it really was the same old for you. You had your Chicago people. Now, DJ Moore didn't step up, but Fields sure did. He was our quarterback 4. CeeDee Lamb was just outside of this particular top 5. If you're in other leagues, he would have been in the top 5 if he was a PPR, just in terms of the catches he had. Helped bump him in there, but I think you take it. Joku also at tight end was our tight end 4. Elliott as a kicker was our kicker 4, so 4 seems to be your lucky number right now, so it weathered the storm of Moore and Warren. 131 in this league does quite well, although it could have been worse. Puka Nacua was our wide receiver 3. 30 points, wide receiver 3. Why? We'll get to those people. Actually, 1 we won't. Wide receiver 2 is on the bench. Pickens. No one took him. He's free agent because he hasn't been that great, but he was great because he's actually talented. And apparently, Rudolph, the red-nosed quarterback, actually threw him the ball last week, so he did all right. But if you look, B, it's got to be a little frustrating. Putting up the 131, you would have won most matchups, but unfortunately, this is the one that you're in. So it is what it is. You are our 5th place finisher. Ben, you are 6th, and you both get the week off next week. You get to cheer on or boo whoever you like. 2nd overall top scorer, but 1st in the top 4, Underhill wants to take his positive regular season and roll it on over top of V, who's a little bit disappointed. You can tell by the face. How this one went down, you're looking at it right now. Freaking Amani Cooper, 49 points. You got to be kidding me. And I don't know if anyone has been following this much. Joey Flacco was the number 1 quarterback, and I don't think anyone has him. Of course, no one had the number 2 quarterback. That's Drive My Car. You want to take him, you go ahead. That's just a ride I do not want to ride in. I've done that before. But Cooper, I don't think anyone would have seen this one coming. And if you watch the game, it wasn't that, he was making tough catches. It wasn't just that huge 75-yard bomb. Obviously, with 265, he was involved, 11 catches, 2 touchdowns. Yowza. That was pretty much the nail in the coffin, although you did have some performances outside of it. Allen was our quarterback 3. Kittle was our tight end 1, so that's 2 1s and a 3 at key positions. Barkley was not in the top 5, but you got to be pretty pumped with him shooting at an almost 18. It made up for the fact that Hopkins, your kicker got hurt early. I don't know if you knew that. He kicked 2 extra points and then bailed. Buffalo's defense, you would have thought that would have been one of your top point getters. In fact, I think I said that last week against the Chargers, but no bueno for you, and Diggs was a fart in the wind. Will, you did put up a fight, but I mean, Laporta didn't step up for you. Henry sure did. He was our running back 4. Everything since I've trashed him to your face, he's been doing all right. Same with Evans, and Stafford overperformed, but the reality was it was what it was. You went over your predicted. 116 is on that borderline for our league that can sometimes compete, but you needed some of your guys. You needed Laporta to show up. You needed a big defensive effort, more than just the 12. It just didn't happen for you. Sorry for that one, pal. You did have Zay Flowers. He could have been a good addition, but you're not going to put him over Deebo Samuel. Now, maybe over Hubbard would have been a thought, but not so much. You do have Jacobs potentially coming back next week and Chase, so I pity the person who plays you next week. It's me. But it is what it is. Justin, it doesn't look like you got a lot of love on the bench, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire might be getting the start if Pacheco can't go, so that might be a sneaky play for you. But this could very well be the lineup that you throw out again in the finals, so I wish you the best of luck. So, V, you're on to the bronze. Justin, you're playing for the title, buddy. Fantasy football sucks. Last week I said it was cool. Now it sucks. This one I can't even blame. Now, I did make a massive fart. I was actually going to make 2 changes at the last minute. This was a very Christmas Day thing, and then suddenly I ran out of time, and I didn't get to making a change I wanted to make. It was actually, one was a Christmas and one was a Christmas Eve thing. It is what it is. But I was going to put in Love for Lawrence just because I thought Lawrence was going to get hurt and I didn't want to risk it. Not because I thought he was necessarily better. He would have been better. And I was going to put Chandler in for Walker. That wouldn't have been a big difference. I was not going to put Nico Collins in, and he would have been a good start. Realistically, in games like this, you need your big guys to go off. And mine didn't. Not just at the quarterback. St. Brown, I was very happy with him. In most PPRs, he was a top 5. Williams did what he should have, but I mean, come on, let's be honest. Kelsey was my number 1 pick, and he's been a disappointment this year. I am not going to be one of those people who blame someone in the stands. I think that's ridiculous, and I am someone who's superstitious, so that's saying something. I was obviously thrilled with both wide receivers, and Olave was great, but Kamara needed a game. He did nothing. That is all. You need people to make points. On Jake's side, he's got to be pumped because he got points where he doesn't always get points. T. Higgins is not a guarantee. He's had 2 weeks in a row, and he went off. Hill had a very moderate game, although he was 1 yard away from the wide receiver bonus. He's got to be pumped about that because, you don't get to 99 very often. I'd say if he gets to 99 next week, he'll get to 100. Don't worry. White's been a sneaky strong play. I've had him in another league, and he's been a solid contributor all year. And obviously, you took a gamble on Taylor coming back. Elliott looks fantastic. I know they're not really predicting Stevenson might come back next week, but he was a huge pickup. The stars were aligning for you. And then Jackson did about as good as you can expect a quarterback to do against San Francisco. Although, like I said before, I think his touchdowns were a little bit inflated due to the fact that San Francisco just kept turning the damn ball over. But beggars can't be choosers. 139 is going to win most week, and 106 just isn't. So I'm off to the bronze. Jake, yet again, I feel like half of the time I'm talking about you, I'm talking about how you're taking money from a pool that I'm running. So, hey, let's just keep the tradition alive. Let's roll this into 2024. Best of luck in the final, my friend. Some call it the toilet bowl, some the battle for pride, or maybe even we'll just call it a 7th place battle. Let's see how much people care about this one. I know I always do just because, I don't know, I'm a weird person and I'm competitive. How is this going to roll down? Only time will tell. Both quarterbacks could be iffy, although it would not shock me if Purdy is looking to put on a show and Washington's a team that you can put on a show against. Murray against Philly could be a tough matchup for him. I think it could be a guts play, although you might have some other options. I think it's pretty even keel. I think you'd got to give the wide receiver to Chaz on this one if everyone's healthy and if everything goes as it should, but that has not been Chaz's MO. Same with running back. Gibbs looks great, but Bijan and Pollard, if they play well, could be pumping. I would take A.J. Brown against anybody in the league. I would even, if you can include him on the wide receiver front, I think that's why there's the matchup edge there. Defense, though, Jacksonville against Carolina, I don't know how much I trust Jacksonville's defense. San Francisco against Washington, if you're looking for a boot stomping, that's got to be it. You do have some choices to make and possibly some injuries to nurse. So, to your decisions, I'm sure you'll be making them throughout the week. But best of luck, gentlemen, in the 7th place. Consolation final, might as well be a pride battle. We don't have a trophy in this league for the consolation final or a prize. We've talked about it every other year, but nothing on the go, but just the idea that you did win your last 2. I can see this being pretty tight. I actually think it's going to be tighter than Yahoo thinks because right now, obviously, we don't know who John's going to start at tight end, but it's not TJ Hawkinson. We know he's out for the year. Pacheco could also be hurt. this could be tough. This might be decided by football. It might be decided by injuries. Although you do have Eckler to kind of help you out at the running back front, you'd have to pick up a tight end, and this one gets a lot tighter and a lot more serious. My only worry with a team like Detroit, they don't really have anything to play for. They are the number 3 seed in the NFC, and they are likely going to be the 3 seed. They clinched the NFL North, but they also have that coach who likes eating people's kneecaps, so they might be super proud about it. Dax and Hurts are two of the more consistent and better quarterback plays we've had. Does Breece Hall have another matchup like that in him? Does Jefferson want to go off? Or is that going to be reserved to someone like Ridley or Adams, who is just screaming probably to AOC to complete a freaking pass? So this one I think might be decided by who actually gets the most chances to succeed. But best of luck to you both. For the bronze and a little bit of cash, we have Will and I going after it. We haven't made a side bet yet, and who knows if we will, but I'm game. I'm just saying, I'd be interested. I do think we have some decisions to make. For your side, it's going to be injury-related decisions. Is Chase and Jacobs going to start? Are they going to play? And is Zay Flowers something you want to take a gamble on? Goff, Stafford. I mean, I think we made that decision a little while ago. I'd be surprised if Stafford isn't in the game. Whereas for me, I actually do have a quarterback decision to make. I don't know how healthy Lawrence is going to be. And I know if you look at the rankings, Carolina doesn't tend to give up a lot of points to quarterbacks, but that's because the teams tend to be up on Carolina and run. I actually think this is going to be a close game because Jacksonville is not that good. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. It's weird to say, though, but my team seems to be just linked to New Orleans. And if they can get me points, then I might win. And if they don't, I won't. Kelsey, if you could do something, just shake it off. I don't know what you can do, buddy, but just catch a damn ball occasionally. I know you're getting double teamed and you're old and all that stuff, but stop slamming your helmet and start catching passes. That would be awesome sauce. This one starts a bit early. I'm likely keeping Cleveland in against the Jets unless something crazy happens. So we should have a score. It's always fun to have a little bit of a score on Thursday. So that's helpful. But let's see what it's going to be, V. If Debo goes off, if Laporta goes off, I'm in trouble. But who knows, man? It's fantasy sports. While Yahoo thinks our final scores could be a little bit lower, I do not expect this to be a 114 to 113 kind of affair. I'd be willing to bet whoever has the most people go off. Now, in the past, we've actually had some disappointing finals where the third and fourth put up more points and then they get that I would have won, but you're not in the final. There's only two teams that can say they would have won, and that's these two, although I say it all the time. I think both teams have the potential of going off, and I would be shocked if this is the lineup that we see starting this weekend, because I know both of you like to make some moves. I think you do have some choices on the bench. We look already that there is a backup running back here that's hoping for an injury. We looked at Higgins and Elliott are on the bench, and we've got some movement here. So Jake is thinking ahead. He's hoping Allen is healthy. Obviously, you got to be hoping for a Tyreek Hill game. Justin, I don't know if you can bank on 2 back-to-backs from Cooper, but you want Diggs to wake up. You'd love it if Jones and Barkley kept it going. Looks like you might be taking a gamble with Single Big Dingleberry, but CER could also be an option. So you've got choices. Let's see how this boils down. I'm excited to see how it works out. I think as well, having just the matchup will also likely start on Thursday and go all the way to Sunday because there's no Monday nighters, which I'll get to in a second. Should be an exciting one. Best to you both to seeing who will be this year's league champion. The matchups are set, except for both B and Ben, who already know where they finished. The rest of us we know what odd number we're playing for, whether it is the 9th and the Pride, whether it is the consolation final in the 7th, whether it's the bronze, or whether you are one of the top 2, Jake and Justin, who are riding high, who are trying to take down the title this year, not just for the money purposes, but let's be honest, back in the day with the Dr. Mantis Toboggan Trophy was still alive and well. I have no idea where it is. Bonus points next year. You get the first round pick if you can produce evidence that it still exists somewhere. But now we know what we're playing for. I've said this for the last couple weeks, and I know most of you are aware of this. I just like to remind, so you can't blame me. And because I like to talk, let's be honest. Pay attention to the schedule again this week. We have a Thursday game. Yes, Saturday, there's something to watch there. But then everything else falls down on Sunday. Due to college football-related scheduling and or preferences, there is nothing on the Monday nighter. So when you wake up on Monday, regardless of the time zone, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. There's some people on the Far East. I don't know what time crap goes down for you. But most of us, when we are ready on the Monday and things are done, but we're looking forward to the Monday nighter, say no more. It is done. Everything should be decided on North American Sunday. Then we know our champion. Then we know how the league breaks down. Pretty exciting stuff. So there is really nothing left for me to say other than best of luck to everyone who's playing for something this weekend. Let's enjoy our final week of fantasy football.